Hello everyone. This is a revision guide on the correct use of micropipettes. You will have already used micropipettes in your first year, but you will be using them throughout your degree, so it's really useful for you to know the correct use of them, and it will make your pracs run a lot smoother here at Wait. So let's have a look at the pipettes that you will see in the classes here. You can see they come in a range of volumes, from the smallest, which is 0.5 to 10 microlitres, 5 to 50 microlitres, 50 to 200 microlitres, and 200 to 1000 microlitres. You will also come across the 1 ml to 5 ml pipette also, but probably not use this one quite so much. So let's go through the parts of the pipette that you need to know. The first thing is the plunger here. So you'll notice when you pick it up that there are two stops. The first stop and the second stop when you press it down. The first stop allows fluid to be drawn into the pipette, and the second stop makes sure that all the solution is expelled from the pipette tip. The second function of the plunger is to set the volume of the pipette, and you'll see that the volumes that the pipette can deliver are on the side, and they are in microlitres. So if we want to change the volume, we wind the pipette plunger like a dial, and in the window there you can see the volume that you have actually selected to pipette. The other part of the pipette is the tip ejector, and you can see that by pressing that it pushes the blue part of the pipette down, and that will release the pipette tip, which fits snugly on the end of the pipette here. So let's have a look at the tips. So there are three main tips that you will use for these particular pipettes. The smallest yellow tip, which is used for any volume under 200 microlitres. The blue tip, which goes on the 200 to 1000 microlitre pipette, and the clear tip, which is used for the 1000 to 5000 microlitre pipette. So the boxes that these tips will come in look like this, and you'll notice that your boxes will often have a piece of autoclave tape sealing them, and that indicates that the tips have been autoclaved and are therefore sterile. So if it's important that you have sterile tips, particularly in microbiology, make sure that that is unbroken when you get your tips, and if they spill onto the bench during the prac, make sure that you get a fresh tub from a demonstrator. When you are selecting a tip, make sure that you open and close the lid as quickly as possible, again to ensure that the tips stay sterile. So let's run through an example of how to pipette a particular volume. If I want to pipette 0.5 mils, the first thing I need to do is to select the correct pipette to deliver 0.5 mils. And before I can do that, I need to convert 0.5 mils into microlitres. So let's do that, and you will remember that there are 1000 microlitres in 1 ml. So therefore, to convert my 0.5 mils into microlitres, I need to multiply 0.5 by 1000. And the answer to that is 500 microlitres. So therefore I will select the 200 to 1000 microlitre pipette. So once we have chosen the right pipette, we've got the right tips to go on that pipette, we need to select, using the dial, we need to dial in the correct volume. So we've worked out that that's 500 microlitres. So we wind it down till we see 500, in the window there, and it's important not to overwind beyond the maximum or underwind beyond the minimum of that pipette can deliver. So we attach the tip by firmly pressing that down, giving it a little twist, making sure that the tip is firmly attached. Then we depress the plunger to the first stop, immerse the tip approximately halfway into the solution, then slowly and steadily allow the solution into the tip. Then place the tip on the side of the tube, slowly and steadily depress to the first stop and then all the way to the second stop to make sure all the solution has been expelled, and then eject the tip into the tip bucket. So let's repeat that with 1,000 microlitres. So we need to wind the pipette so that it will deliver 1,000 microlitres, which is the same as 1 ml. Being careful not to overwind. Firmly press the pipette into the tip. Depress to the first stop, immerse the tip halfway, slowly and steadily allow the plunger to release. Place the tip on the side of the tube, slowly and steadily release to the depress to the first stop, then all the way to the second stop, and eject the tip. So you can see by comparing those two tubes that the green tube is double the volume of the red solution, and it's really good to get a good idea of what a volume looks like when you are pipetting it, because that's a very good way of determining whether you have accurately dispensed the amount of liquid that you need to. Reproducibility is very important with pipetting as well. So the way in which you allow solution into the tip and how you expel it into your new tube is really important in terms of getting the same volume every time. So if we just go summarise the main do's and don'ts of pipetting, the important thing is to always hold the pipette upright. Always attach the correct tip and make sure that it is properly attached. If the tip is not properly attached, you won't draw the correct amount of solution into the tip. And always eject the tip into the waste bucket. Don't lie your pipette down with the tip attached. The reason for that is that will mean the tip is no longer sterile, and it will also mean that any fluid in the tip can flow into the pipette body, which is not good for the pipette. Absolutely never hold the pipette upside down with the tip on, because if there is solution in the tip, again, it will flow into the body of the pipette. And never wind the plunger above the maximum or below the minimum volume set for that pipette. Happy pipetting.